guys, and welcome to the channel. So this is a very different type of video. As you guys know, I recently introduced a series onto the Vaughn channel called Real Talk and Real Talk Retro, where we talk about retro movies. So just jumping the gun a little bit here, I want to talk to you guys today about Star Wars. Now, this gentleman here, Brian, Mr. Brian.
Oh, hi, Vaughn.
How are you, Brian? You well?
Yeah, very well indeed, yeah. Really well. Yeah, we're in my studio today.
Brian's moved into a new studio, by the way, and we'll talk more about that later, but it's looking really good, Brian, looking really rock and roll.
It is rock and roll. In other words, it's, I don't know, I was going to say, I'm not going to say anything about it.
Guys, if you don't know anything about Brian Griffin, if you're new to this channel, just Google up Brian Griffin and you will see that he is indeed one of the most important photographers of the last generation. And a lot of you who have been following me since the beginning of this channel, you probably don't know that Brian Griffin has photographed everybody, including the Star Wars characters. Now, this is a fascinating story, and this is why I've got Brian on here today, was because Brian actually took photos for, was it the third Star Wars, Return of the Jedi?
I don't know.
Yes, it was Return of the Jedi.
Right.
And interestingly enough, we're going to show you some of these images now. But what really blew my mind was the fact that George Lucas himself rejected these images.
I don't blame him, actually. You didn't expect me to say that, did you? Yeah, he did. He rejected it. Yeah. Rejected them.
It's interesting, Brian. So let's just talk about this. How did you get the job? I know it was a long time ago. This must have been 1982?
It must have been. It's so long ago. I've really forgotten, exactly the date when I did it. I mean, both of us actually live in a part of London called Rotherhithe, as we know full well, and we've made it quite famous, haven't we, on your channel? And it all began in Rotherhithe. There's one famous. We always go by pubs in England. Everything goes by pubs.
Yes.
There's a famous pub up the street called the Mayflower, which I'm sure some of you have been in, because just about every tourist who comes to London goes to the Mayflower. And up there it all started. I had a studio near the Mayflower, just 2 doors from there. And there was a man actually who drank in another pub just round the corner called the Ship of St Mary's. It's still there, still go in there. And I just used to play darts with him and talk to him at the bar and things. And he had a studio himself just round the bend in Elephant Lane. And he was the chief animatronics man on Star Wars. And he just said, I'm going to get you on Star Wars or whatever he said. And in fact, he didn't have to go very far because right next door was the PR man for Star Wars, by sheer luck, really. So there I had, just on my drinking doorstep, 2 of the most important people who could actually give me work on Star Wars, which is how it came about. I was sent to the studio, which I don't know if you want to talk about the studio I used. I used a studio that George Lucas found for me through this PR man next door to my studio. He got built for me a studio behind these studios where Star Wars was shot, which was Elstree Studios. It's a set of studios north of London, like just out on the outskirts of London. And so I went up there to have a look, and there they all were, just walking out the sets, whatever. There was Princess Leia walking across there, there was, so Darth Vader standing in the car park.
So you walk there and you just see the characters just standing.
You see the characters, and now go in the studio where George Lucas was sitting in his director's chair. And it would be, obviously in those days, it was full of smoke. I mean, they smoked every set, really. It gave it far more atmosphere, gave it a diffuse feeling. All the shootings they did, it was like choking with smoke. And smoke in those days used to go out of like little guns like this. They were bee guns that puffed. And there were some smoke machines, and the studio was full of smoke. George was there, and all the people, maybe Princess Leia was there, maybe Luke Skywalker was there, I don't know. I mean, they were just... I wasn't a Star Wars fan, by the way, I just want to make that point. And I just went through the back of the studio there, and he built a studio for me, which is just a plain Infinity Cove. It was just a plain white studio. That's all I wanted, really. And what would happen then would be the characters would be sent to me. I don't know who marshaled the people and sent them down to me. Someone must have coordinated it. And they sent it down and sent the characters one by one to appear in front of my camera, only for about half an hour at maximum. So I had to work quite quickly. And as I said to Vaughn before, it was in my very early days of working in the studio where I sort of knew how to go about things, but sort of didn't also. So they're just slightly not up to the standard I've reached now, later on, like 40 years later in my career.
Brian, it's a fascinating story, and when I posted the images on my Facebook group the other day, a lot of my subscribers said, "Oh my God, we never knew Brian photographed Star Wars." One of the guys said, "I always knew Brian Griffin was a Jedi."
Well, I can tell you some funny story. I mean, you want to hear a funny story.
Absolutely.
I'll give you a funny story. Let's lighten it all up a little bit, shall we? Funny story is the car park in the studios there. It's a very famous film studio, made some incredible movies there. And standing in the car park was both Kenny. Kenny was the man who got the small man, I should say, that got inside the robot.
The little one was C-3PO. Oh my goodness.
R2-D2.
R2-D2. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious me.
So Kenny was standing there like that, very low compared to was it Darth Vader, who was like massive.
That was David Prowse.
David Prowse, I think.
Yeah, and they used him because he was like a stuntman, but they didn't use his voice. They used James Earl Jones's voice. And
they were both standing there, and they were both looking across. Because I photographed Kenny many years earlier when I was a student. He used to be in the circus, in Billy Smart's circus. And Kenny was standing next to Darth Vader, and I was looking across to their big, stretched, really large Mercedes cars. Kenny was a clown, paid nothing in the circus, and now he was a relatively rich man, really. And him and Darth had the same cars, exactly the same cars, only Kenny had pedals. The pedals in the car were extended to reach his little feet, so he could drive the big Mercedes. And Darth Vader, he's like massive. I think they had a bubble coming out the top where Darth would stick his head to drive his car, you know?
So just to go a little bit off context here. So Darth Vader and R2-D2 drove the same car.
They drove the same car, totally opposite in height. But anyway, getting back on the subject, it is the subject in a way. It was, they'd come in each time, and I don't remember much about their personalities really. They were very professional. Actors are always great to photograph. I mean, I wish I was actually a better photographer in a way back then, because they take direction. I've always loved photographing actors, which I got better at as time went on. So Han Solo would take it, and he's such a hero, Star Wars Han Solo at that time anyway. And then also Princess Leia would come in, looking beautiful and delicate, of course.
She's stunning, isn't she? Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I actually just, all within context, this is an absolutely stunning, this one. I mean, a lot of fans have not actually seen this one.
Oh, right.
So
it's probably never used, that's why.
Yeah, this is why, and this is why, me as a fan, a lot of fans have not seen this, and they're just like, why have they not seen this? And that was because George Lucas rejected them.
I don't understand it. I mean, I still got the packaging that came with all my transparencies and all my contact sheets and things. I don't know why you rejected
He
it.
must have been just having a bad day or something, because
Maybe.
these are stunning.
I mean, he was doing extremely well, of course. Maybe he just didn't need them, or he didn't like them.
So just tell us about this photograph, Brian. This is done indoors?
Indoors, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's taken indoors, and yeah, I mean, obviously they've got artificial rocks in a studio. There's no problem finding some artificial polystyrene rocks, and of course I stood carry on top. Below, which appears to be a sea there, is a sea of reflector foil, just like baker foil you use in your cooking, wrap the chicken in, whatever. But it's like a plasticated foil which you put behind the radiators, so the radiators, all the heat from them just go into the wall. It reflects back out again. And I used to buy rolls and then hang it, put it down on the floor, and then I'd shine some tungsten lights. I mean, all this is shot in tungsten. Didn't have any flash then. It's all tungsten, so they were very, very still. So consequently, that's why with the wind machine that carries cloak or whatever is blowing behind her there, out of sort of blurred, with the movement. And yeah, that looks like a sea, of course. It looks beautifully like a sea. And that's the sky, which is actually this foil here with lights pointing down on it, creating these reflections. These cloud structures, I'd like to say, against the white background of the studio. Yeah.
That's great, Brian. Well, listen, there is so much we can talk about because, guys, I just want to let you know that Brian Griffin has made the entire collection of his Star Wars images available exclusively through the Vaughn George channel. We will put a link below. You can own a piece of this history now.
It's the same size.
This is basically what you'll be getting. Anything purchased here from the Vaughn George channel. Just understand that this is mounted just for display purposes, but we are selling the actual poster prints, which are derived from the original transparencies and negatives, and they are printed here in the UK by Brian Griffin's approved UK printer. They are signed or autographed by Brian himself and delivered to you anywhere in the world, straight to your door. So that's really just what we wanted to bring awareness to. I understand that there's probably a lot of questions you guys have, so I'm going to ask you to leave your comments in the description below. Let me know, first of all, are you a Star Wars fan? And are there any questions that you would like Brian to talk about regarding this? Because I think this could be a little series, Brian. There's probably far too much we can get in this first episode. Right. But, hey, man, and talking about Carrie Fisher, I mean, I think this was every guy of my age's crush when he was first crush when he was younger. I look at this and I just go, it's a great photo, but I think a woman this beautiful, you could just photograph her with anything, she'd probably always look stunning. No insult to you. It's a great image.
No. Yeah. She was very beautiful, yeah.
Okay, guys, so we're going to cap it there. So leave your comments below. Any questions for Brian or me you have on the subject of Star Wars, and any other things you'd like Brian to elaborate on, and we'll get back to that in the next video. Brian, thank you for your time, my friend.
My pleasure, Vaughn, my pleasure.
We'll see you on the next episode.